Christine from Poised for Success, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about what I consider to be the most fundamental foundational moves in Canine Musical Freestyle. Now, let me preface this by saying this is something that might vary from one freestyler to another. With the exception of one Canine Musical Freestyle titling venue, there are no compulsory moves in Canine Musical Freestyle. Basically, the floor is open for you to pick and choose what moves your dog will do. However, after 14 years in this sport, I can easily say that these are the moves that I see the most commonly, that I tend to teach to the majority of my dogs, and that I see most people have their dogs do. Another thing to keep in mind is that different freestylers sometimes call the same move by a different name. So in this video, I'm going to provide you with visual examples of what I'm talking about, but if you've heard somebody call it something different, well, that's just par for the course in this sport. These moves are spin, leg weave, circle around the handler, swing to the left or the right of the handler, and paw touches or paw lifts. I also include the behavior take a bow in this list, although I don't necessarily teach that to every dog. Now, I draw a bit of a distinction between what I call a move and what I consider to be a movement. A move basically is a trick or an independent behavior on the part of the dog. A movement is something that the dog would either carry out in synchronization with the handler or as some kind of a movement phrase. So you might wonder why I didn't include pivots, laterals, and backing on this list, and that's just because I consider pivots, laterals, and backing to be movements, not moves. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to do a separate video on what I consider to be the foundational movements, and in that video, I'll talk about pivots, backing, and laterals. In addition, in this video, I'm just going to demonstrate these different moves and talk a little bit about the way that I use them. I'm not going to get into how I teach them in this video, but I will be making in separate videos a presentation on how I train each and every one of these behaviors. A spin is basically the dog making a 360-degree spin or twirl, however you want to say it. Most of us teach our dogs to do this clockwise and counterclockwise, having separate cues for each. A spin can be performed as an independent behavior on the part of the dog, anywhere really, in front of you, next to you, at a distance from you, on a prop. There are lots of options. A spin can also be a great transition move. You could, for instance, have your dog in front of you, cue a spin, and you pivot and pick your dog up on a different side. Spins also don't always have to be 360 degrees. They could be a little bit less or a little bit more, depending on what you've choreographed. A spin can be performed with the handler stationary, or a spin can be performed with the handler spinning simultaneously at the same time. for a leg weave, it's what it sounds like. Basically, your dog just moves under your leg, either from in front of you to your side, or perhaps from one side to the other. Leg weaves can be carried out stationary, where you're standing in one place and your dog performs a figure eight between your legs, or leg weaves can be performed on the move. You can be walking forward, you can be walking backwards, you could even be doing something of a grapevine sideways. Here's some examples of different ways that leg weaves can be used. These aren't all done in a freestyle context, but you get the general idea. For the circle around the handler, it is what it sounds like. The dog starts either in front of the handler or on one side or the other and makes either a clockwise or counterclockwise circle around the handler. This can be done as a single circle, a full circle, a partial circle, or multiple circles. You can be standing still. You can be pivoting in the other direction as your dog circles. This is also a fantastic transition move. One of the most common that I use to move my dog from one position to the other, especially when I don't want my dog to land either in heel or in front of me. For swing to the side, it's kind of like a left finish in rally, where the dog either comes around to the left and ends up in heel position, or comes around to the right and ends up in side position. Now, I've gotten the question from some people, does the dog actually have to make a big loop, or can the dog sort of pivot into the position? I allow my dog to choose. Whatever is more comfortable for my dog is usually what's going to be what looks the best. So I teach the behavior, and then I end up allowing the dog to choose exactly how he or she wants to get from wherever they're starting into either heel or side position. They can make an actual loop, or they can plant their feet and pivot. Either way, they perform the behavior, and it's perfectly acceptable. I use this sometimes as a standalone move, particularly within a chain of moves that are used to create a move sequence called the scallop. I also use this move quite a bit as a transition. A dog can move from in front of you into heel or side, or from one side to the other, or your dog could start at a distance and come in and swing into position. touches, the dog either sits or stands, usually in front of me, although paw lifts could be done at your side or at a distance. And I extend either a hand or perhaps a knee, and my dog raises a hand and touches either the hand or the knee, and usually sustains that position for a period of time. I might also have my dog lift one paw or the other independently, or perhaps one after the other in succession. Finally, kind of an optional foundation move is the bow, which is similar to the play bow, where the dog sinks down on their front paws and keeps their rear end up in the air. Some dogs really enjoy this, others really don't, and I tend to let my dog decide whether it's something I'm going to incorporate into their repertoire of moves or not. The bow makes a wonderful ending pose and can also be used to add flourish in the midst of a routine. I hope you enjoyed this introduction to what I consider to be the foundation freestyle moves. Want to show off your dogs carrying out these moves? Come join us on the Poised for Success Facebook group. Or come and show us some different moves that you and your dog enjoy performing together. We'll see you next time.